I have one daughter, Sarah, and a stepdaughter, Kate. Sarah's mom and I divorced when Sarah was 13. Regrettably, Sarah and I do not have a close relationship as I live in a different state, and her mom had full custody, and I only got visitations. I met my wife 1 year after my divorce, and she and Kate moved in with me when we got serious. Sarah refused to come to the wedding and did not bother to get to know my wife and Kate. During our divorce proceedings, my ex and I agreed that we would each put aside $40,000 for Sarah's college, enough for 4 years. There's $90,000 in that account. My ex added a bit more. To be honest, Sarah was never interested in college, nor did she do well in school, so I didn't really think about it. Since Sarah is graduating this summer, she came to me and told me that she had gotten into a very fancy fashion school that was more expensive than the budget, as she would be an out-of-state student as well. She asked if I would pay for it, and I said no. I and her mother agreed on the cost, and as I am paying for Kate as well, I cannot afford it. Kate got early admission into an elite university for medicine, and I promised my wife I would take care of it. Sarah started yelling at me and behaving in a very childish manner. She said I abandoned her and her mom and favored Kate. None of that is true. I told her that she had plenty of money for her college, and quite frankly, paying that much to study fashion is ridiculous. She cussed me out and left. I was very angry as she came to see me in my office, and all my coworkers heard her. I texted her that I expected an apology, and she texted back cussing me out and uninviting me from her graduation, which was this past week. We haven't spoken since, and she's blocked me on everything. You're the a-hole. You had me up until you showed favoritism towards Kate's choice of career. Your snark towards Sarah's career choice was uncalled for. You mentioned that your relationship with Sarah isn't the best, but have you put an effort into salvaging that? Did you go and visit her and call her and made contact with her during those rough teen years? You're the a-hole, massively. 1. You met your current wife a year after your divorce. It's not unreasonable for Sarah, a child, to have found this hard. As a parent, it is your responsibility to A. Maintain a relationship with your child, and B. Help her get used to your new family. 2. It's clear that Kate is your priority, which, frankly, is completely wrong. Your responsibility first and foremost is to your biological daughter. 3. Frankly, paying that much to study fashion is ridiculous. Yeah, here comes the academic snobbery. I assume you are a naturist given your disdain for fashion and clothing. 4. She cussed me out and left. I was very angry as she came to see me in my office and all my coworkers heard her. Once again, you show that you don't give a crap about your daughter. It's all about appearances. By studying medicine, Kate helps fulfill your snobby prestige fantasy. Sarah, meanwhile, isn't afraid of telling the world that her father is a raging a-hole. I'm paying for Kate as well. I cannot afford it. If you have a ton of money, you could give to both of them. But if you don't have enough money, remember who is your daughter. Kate has parents. Edit. I see a lot of assumptions about my parenting already. Please judge what's being asked. I did my best with Sarah. The only reason I moved was so I could make more money to send her, so she could go to private school and have the same lifestyle she did when I was married. I showed up for every single visitation and traveled every single time. The only time she was expected to travel to me was for my wedding, which she refused to. My ex resented me for starting the divorce proceeding, and she and Sarah view my wanting a divorce as me abandoning Sarah. I did my best to make my marriage work, but it just didn't. There was plenty of alienation from my wife's side, especially after I got married. I spent plenty of visitation days in a hotel room because Sarah wouldn't come out of her house to see me. I did my best to be there for her. She knew all along what the budget for her school was. If she had told me a year or two ago that she was planning on attending this school, I could have saved up, but this is just too last minute, and I do not have the money. Edit 2. I studied art and have no issue with her choosing fashion, but paying that much is not necessary for that degree. Different degrees require different levels of cost. There are better schools that Sarah can afford. You do not pay the same for an art degree as you do for an engineering degree. Her 4 years cost as much as Kate's 7 years of med school. That's insane. As for Kate, I am paying less for her than I am for Sarah, as me, my wife, and Kate's dad share the cost. My ex-husband, who I will call Mike, fake name, and I started dating on the first year of high school. The relationship was incredibly toxic, but due to social pressure, we were both from a very conservative community in Texas. After high school, we ended up getting married. While I don't want to wish Mike any ill will, the relationship was awful. It was clear we had both lost feelings for each other, and we cheated on each other numerous times, and counseling failed us. We divorced. There were no hard feelings, and this was only 1.5 years later, mind you. Then Mike transferred to a school on the East Coast. A year later, my little sister got admitted into an equally great school in the same state as Mike. Now, at the time, this just didn't register in my brain, but their schools were incredibly close to each other. I moved on with my life. and soon I got into my current loving relationship with my current boyfriend. Eventually, my parents came around to accept him, and we all moved on with our lives. Then 5 years passed, and last week on my father's birthday, when like always, we all came home. This time, however, my sister brought her longtime boyfriend, who none of us had seen or knew anything about, but all of us knew existed, Mike. Clarification, I did not know it was my ex-husband. All I knew was that she had been dating someone for a long time. She brought my ex-husband to my father's birthday, and worst of all, she did it because they were engaged. I kid you not, I wanted to puke when I saw this. It took me an hour to register what the hell was happening. As soon as it did, though, I started yelling at my sister. The whole thing just came crashing down upon me, and I was furious. The whole event got so bad that my sister left the party and went to a hotel until her flight the next day, while my parents supported me, but my boyfriend was distraught. Soon we left, and on the ride back, he just didn't say anything. When I finally pried something out of him, he just said, "Why did you do all that back there? Do you still have feelings for Mike?" After an hour of explaining, he eventually said, "Then what was the point of all that? It's been 5 years since you two dated. Your sister is a grown adult." Then I told friends, and they were also split. Half of them supported me, and half supported my boyfriend. Edit. I did manage to show him of my perspective eventually, and we are fine, don't worry. It isn't about Mike, he understands that. It's about my sister. With all this information, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I would be furious if my sister was in a long-term relationship with my ex-boyfriend. Never mind ex-husband. Kept it a secret, and then sprung it on you at a family event. So grim. Huge difference between dated and married for a year and a half. Your sister's been hiding this because it's not okay. You don't play in your sister's sandbox. No matter how it ended, it's a no-go. On top of that, springing it at your dad's birthday is not acceptable. Sister is wrong. Mike is wrong. Not the a-hole. You're the a-hole. People who try to put some sort of off-limits on people they used to date is weird. You are no longer with them. If someone else wants to date them, they're adults. Not the a-hole. You don't need to still have feelings for your ex-husband to be outraged by your sister and ex's relationship. That's next-level family-ending shenanigans. I don't get the votes going the other way. Literally no one commenting would be happy if their ex-spouse was marrying their sibling. A couple of months ago, I found out my husband of 10 years has a 5-year-old daughter that he has been an active part of raising. No infidelity occurred, but he kept this hidden from me, and it is still a huge betrayal. He also kept this hidden from his parents. I've always had a great relationship with my in-laws. Over the last 14 years, they've truly become my family. My own parents passed away when I was a teenager, and they have taken me in as their adopted daughter. My husband's stepdad even walked me down the aisle at our wedding. My husband never told his parents about his child because he didn't want me to find out. When I found out about everything, I asked if they even knew, and my husband assured me they did not. He also begged me not to tell them. I told him I would not, but told him that he would have to do so himself. He did not. This past Friday, the stress and anger all caught up to me. I'm not proud of it, but I got way too drunk and called his mom and told her everything. Now my husband's entire family is pissed at him. His mom is devastated. She loves babies and toddlers. She always wanted more herself, or to one day have grandkids. She feels she missed out. When he went over to try and talk to her yesterday, his stepdad came out and told my husband he wasn't welcome on his property. My husband has some mental health and neurodivergence issues. My actions this weekend have caused some pretty bad anxiety spirals, and he had to go to the inpatient psych clinic last night. My husband is really pissed off at me for telling them myself, and the way I did it. He said that it was an a-hole move. Now that I am sitting alone in the house, I'm starting to think that he might be right about that. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband's mom about his secret baby? Edit. I wasn't going to go into this because it really is irrelevant to the situation that I'm asking if I'm the a-hole over, but to ease all the inquiring minds. 6 years ago, my husband was approached by an old friend and her wife, asking him to be a sperm donor. My husband and I talked about it, and I told him I was not comfortable with it, and he said he wouldn't go through with it. Supposedly, the friend pressured him. This is from his mouth, so I don't know if it's true. I'm just relaying it as he told me. And he did it. Friend's wife unexpectedly and sadly passed away. Husband started co-parenting with his friend around this time. Friend has also lied to me and said they found a direct donor. Edit 2. My husband is an active parent to this child now. She calls him daddy. We're missing at least $25,000 from our family's finances that has gone towards this kid's care. He even lied to me that he was going to a friend's bachelor party, but instead went to Disney with his child and her mother. This is not just a case of him being a sperm donor. And yes, my marriage is over due to this. I am absolutely 100% divorcing and have consulted an attorney. Unfortunately, my brother-in-law is terminally ill, and I'm helping to financially support my sister and Nibblings while they are dealing with all that. So the divorce has a pen until 2024 at the earliest. I'm probably the a-hole here for the way I spilled the beans, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it at all. I'm going to get some me time while my husband is in inpatient care. Not the a-hole. You gave him the opportunity. He didn't do what he said. I don't understand staying with someone who is capable of a lie of this magnitude. Hiding a child from you and his parents was an a-hole move. He lied and told you he didn't donate sperm, though he did anyways. This is and should be a prelude to divorce. $25,000 in 3 years is a large sum of money to help raise a child. Time for you to be with someone who will be honest with you. This is not the man. He deserves what he's getting from his parents, regardless of how it came out, not the a-hole. So my opinion on the question asked is you're the a-hole. And I say that only because you told your in-laws because you were drunk and angry. There are a bunch of different ways and times you could have told them, and I'd say not the a-hole. But because you didn't warn them it was going to happen that night, you are an a-hole. That being said, there's nothing wrong with it. He lied to you. He stole money. He deserves to have his secret come out like that. He doesn't get to hide this from anyone anymore. I applaud you and how you are handling this. I cannot say I'd have waited months to put him to his parents. I live about 4 hours away from my parents, so I don't see them that often. Quite frankly, I don't mind being away from them for tons of reasons that are a little too personal for me to share. Driving all the way there was already exhausting, so I just wanted to settle in and get ready for dinner. First thing that happens was I recognized a car that I hadn't seen in a while. 2 months. It was my ex's car, parked right there in the driveway next to my mother's car. A little backstory. My ex and I broke up when I found out he cheated on me with 2 of my close friends for a good portion of our relationship. 2 out of the 4 years. I moved, taking all of my things and my cat. Just left without a word to anyone. You have to understand, I was completely devastated, and I thought he was the one. Anyways, I pull up and see his car. Knowing that he was inside, I went anyways to see my parents. When I go inside, I call for my mother, trying to limit the amount of times I see my ex. My mother comes immediately and gives me a hug. I ask her if she could step outside to talk. Wrong choice. I ask her why my ex is here, and she responds with, I invited him. His parents are out of town, and he didn't have a place to go for dinner. Completely blown away that she did that, since she knew the reason behind why we broke it off. Stunned, I asked her to make me a plate and that I was just going to stay at a hotel. She flips out and looks at me dumbfounded. Meanwhile, my ex just happens to smoke a cigarette just as my mother finally agrees to make a to-go container. He's outside now, staring at me and not saying anything, which I was grateful for, until he started to talk. He kept saying sorry and that he was lost without me. All the BS cheaters say after they've been caught. My mom and dad stepped out with my food, so I'm just ready to go. My dad stops me and tells me I'm being childish for leaving and not facing up to my ex since he clearly wants forgiveness. I got so mad and yelled at all of them. I didn't even want to come. I knew some crap like this would happen, that's why I'm leaving. You didn't need to invite him, but you did, even after all the betrayal he put me through. On the brink of my tears, my dad calls me an a-hole, and I run to my car, dropping my food after stumbling down the front steps. I called some friends and they said I should have stayed for the sake of my parents, since I was definitely being an a-hole. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry that happened to you. I have to ask, what planet are you on? This is the most outrageous a-hole thing I've read on Am I the A-hole today. Given the circumstance of your breakup, what your parents did was just outright cruel. Why are your friends taking the side of your parents? None of this makes any sense. Is there more to this story? I really don't have words. Not the a-hole, but your parents are. It is so disturbing and really messed up of them to invite this man who cheated on you, hurt you, betrayed you, and they want you to what? Break bread? You absolutely did the right thing by leaving. You didn't owe anyone anything, not even your time. And some friends you have. I completely disagree with them telling you should have stayed for your parents' sake. Duck that. I'm baffled. Does anyone around you have your back? I'm truly upset on your behalf. OP, you didn't want to make the trip anyway, and it seems that you guys have some traumatic past between you all. Maybe it's best if you go a little no contact for a while. Also, re-examine those friendships, yeah? You deserve so much better. It's beyond me why some people, in this case the parents, have that kind of need to please others, but not their own family. Come on, the guy cheated. Even if he did something less bad, but the daughter was still hurt by him, that would be enough reason not to invite him. Also, why didn't they mention it? Did they expect the couple to get back together? They should really sort out their priorities.